This question is asking us to solve the equation for all real solutions. They give us 7x squared minus 14x plus 5 equals negative x squared. We're going to solve this using the quadratic formula. As a reminder, this is the quadratic formula. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. We have this formula here, and from this formula we're going to have to get our a, b, and c values. The first thing we're going to do is put this in standard form, and we'll do that by adding x squared to both sides. We'll now have 8x squared minus 14x plus 5 equals 0, and we're ready to go. We're going to identify our a value as 8, our b value as negative 14, and our c value as 5. We're going to go up to this formula up here, and wherever there's a b, we're going to replace that with a negative 14. Wherever there's an a, we're going to replace that with an 8. And wherever there's a c, we're going to replace that with a 5. So our new quadratic formula will look like x equals negative the b value plus or minus, I'll explain that in a second, the square root of the b value squared minus 4 times the a value times the c value, all over twice the a value. So again, we take our formula, put it in standard form, identify a, b, and c, and substitute those values in. Now it's just a matter of order of operations. We can clean this up a little bit. Negative 14 is 14. Plus or minus the square root of, I'm going to square negative 14 and get 196. I'm going to multiply 4 times 5 times 8, because order doesn't matter when you multiply. It's easier for me to do in my head. 4 times 5 is 20, and 20 times 8 is 160. So minus 160 all over 16, which is 2 times 8. Next, I'm going to subtract inside the square root symbol there. So we get 14 plus or minus the square root of 36 all over 16. Here, we're now going to take the square root of 36, which we all know to be 6. And this is where that plus or minus comes in. We have two answers here. One of our answers is 14 plus 6 divided by 16. And the other one is 14 minus 6 divided by 16. That's how we handle the plus or minus. Plus or minus means one answer with a plus, the other answer with a minus. Remember, we oftentimes have parabolas that touch the x-axis twice, so we get 2 zeros or 2 x-intercepts or 2 roots, however you want to say it. These are our two answers. This one on the left is 20 divided by 16. That's what I get when I add 14 and 6 and divide it by 16. And the other one becomes 8 over 16. I can reduce those fractions. The one on the left, 2 goes into both of those numbers, but so does 4. So I'll divide them both by 4. That becomes 5/4. And the other one becomes 1/2 because 8 goes into both of those numbers. So these are the two solutions that when I plug them back into the original equation, make a true statement. The quadratic formula allowed me to find those by doing some pretty basic arithmetic operations after plugging in a, b, and c. We'll come back over here and we'll type in our answers. One of our answers is x is going to have to equal 1/2, so we can put in 1 divided by 2. I'll put a comma, and then I'll put x is going to equal, and I'll put 5 divided by 4. Oops, excuse me. 5 divided by, 5 divided by 4. And to get the fraction, I just hit the division bar right here where the question mark is. I'll submit my answer. I'll tell them, it says please do not put an equal sign in your answer. For example, just put that. Okay, well thank you very much. That's why we do this. I will go ahead and just put it as 1/2 and as 5/4. This is not a point, guys, because of the brace right here. This is the set of answers. There's 2 answers, 1, 2. I'll hit enter. I'll say these are my answers, yes, and it'll tell me I'm correct. And we can look at their work. They put it in standard form. Next, they identified A, B, and C, substituted those values in and simplified, found the two solutions. Good. Good luck, guys.